Hello, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I'm otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And what my goal is to inspire you to lead a healthier life. So when I proposed my podcast, I proposed that we present it in two different segments. The first one is It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, where I get to share everything I have learned to return my health back to relative wellness and to live a pain-free life in spite of the fact that I have autoimmune disease. But the second part of my podcast is this episode, and that's Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. My concept with this is it's all fine and well that you hear me tell my story, but I get a lot of, it's all fine and well that it worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And I wanted you to hear that there are lots of people out there that have made changes in their lifestyle that have supported their health and brought them back to relative wellness. We all have a couple things in common. We all owned our own health. Whatever the doctor was suggesting we did was going on a parallel path to us making these lifestyle changes where we did things that cleaned up our toxic load. We all pay attention to our body. You'll hear jazz in the background because I want you to listen to the rhythm of your health, and I want you to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body had been trying to tell me that I was going to topple over into toxic load for some time. I just wasn't listening. So if you clean up your lifestyle and if you listen to your body, you have a very good chance not of being deprived in any way, but returning to feeling darn good. And that's what these podcasts are really all about. So thank you for joining me. This is going to be a Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that we all inspire you to lead a healthier, happier life. Thank you. Hello, welcome once again. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Joan Bender. She's someone I have known for a while. She is also a health coach and a Reiki master, and she's written great cookbooks. And she has a story that I think will inspire you if you've been having health issues and you have no clue what's going on with your body and what's going wrong. So I wanted her to come and share her story with you too. So welcome to my podcast, Joan. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for having me. And I've been following you on social media for a couple of years now. And what really attracted me to you was your book title, which is, hopefully I'll get it right, It Feels Good to Feel Good.
Yep.
Because that made a lot of sense to me, because it really captured my experience. Because I had been feeling pretty lousy for a while and struggled with trying to get a diagnosis or find out what was really wrong with me. And I felt sick and lousy for many years. So it really
one of the things I
me.
talk about is I don't even think we register sometimes just how lousy we feel.
Exactly. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's and then when you realize how much better you feel once you start to feel good, your body really does want to celebrate. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to get other people to understand. I think you really have to experience it for yourself to really have that healthy feeling again, because we spend so much time just feeling unhealthy. But I think, my story started when I look back, way back into my childhood. Mm-hmm. I was a kid who had eczema a lot. I went through periods where I broke out in hives, once in elementary school, then again in high school, and again in college. And high school and college, my hives were so bad. I would wake up in the morning, my eyes would be all puffy, my mouth would be all puffy. I would scratch in my sleep and I would wake up with welts and bruises on my arms and legs from scratching those hives. And then in high school, I was diagnosed with premature menopause, which then I was on synthetic hormones
Well,
for
in high
about
school.
17 years. Yeah.
Oh my God.
hmm So, and they never really knew what was going on with me. They thought I had seasonal allergies, which I did. I had those too.
Well, but it's all
Um,
connected. It's all under the autoimmune umbrella. The
it
seasonal
is.
allergies are part of that.
Yep. And, thinking back to my childhood where I grew up, we had a creek that ran through our yard, and it really was a beautiful little paradise. But there were factories up the road from us, and textile factories. And one of them was a dye factory, and they would dump dye into the creek to get rid of it at the end of the day if they didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, remember you told me you had a Rainbow Creek.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
but those were all toxic chemicals in that creek that you were running around in as a kid.
yep. And I recently read a statistic that I think most babies are exposed to an average of 200 toxins at birth.
Yeah.
So in utero, they've been exposed to that many toxins.
I actually wrote a chapter on what you need to do long in advance of getting pregnant, because it's
Mm,
not just coming from you, it's coming from your husband, which surprised me. Your partner's toxins travel as well through his
yeah.
sperm. And so that poor child starts off with a heavy toxic load right at the point of birth, which is one reason why 53% of our kids have chronic illness today. They're starting
Mm,
off against health right from the minute that they're born. So they're being born with all kinds of allergies and attention span issues and hay fever and chronic issues and asthma. And it's coming from the two parents. And you can't avoid that, but you have to plan ahead and you have to make sure that you lower your toxic load before you even think about getting pregnant.
right.
Who'd have thunk? I know,
Well,
it's
and
craziness.
my mother, talk about toxins. We don't even know what she was exposed to because she grew up. She was a child growing up in Europe during World War II. So she was in bombed out places. Who knows what she was exposed to? Um, that then had an impact on me and my sisters. Both of my sisters also have autoimmune issues. Um, so I really do think it's something to be concerned about and for the world to kind of wake up to.
Yeah. Well, and the toxins have gotten worse since we were kids.
Yeah.
I'm older than
Mhm.
you, but they've gotten considerably worse, which is why we're 37th in the world in health.
Mhm.
We're the richest country in the world, and yet we have a significant health issue because of all of the toxins. And the government's not protecting us, so they've grown worse over the years instead of better.
Yeah. So then I'd say probably in my 30s, mid 30s, is probably when I hit rock bottom. Um, my hives had healed up at this point. I still had the premature menopause. I was taking synthetic hormones for about 17 years.
Which weren't helping you. They were helping you on the early menopause, but they weren't helping your body be healthy at all.
Not at all. And I tried expressing that to my doctor, who would dismiss my concerns. And I started having pains in my right side around the gallbladder liver area. And I, pointed out that one of the symptoms on the packet that comes with your medication is gallbladder disease. And her response was, well, you don't have gallstones, because I did have several sonograms to determine if I had gallstones. And she said, well, you don't have gallstones, so you can keep taking it. And I didn't want to get to the point where I had gallstones and
Yeah.
had to have my gallbladder removed.
You think?
So I, you know, and I'm not advocating this is for everyone, but I did take myself off of it. But I was still having issues every time I ate. I felt sick. I was 20 pounds heavier. I was bloated all of the time. I had joint pain, muscle and joint pain. And it really even felt like my bones hurt. You know, I would lie in bed at night and not even move, and I would just be in so much pain. And I was in my mid-30s. And
Yeah,
I was
I know.
watching my parents in their 70s running around with all this energy. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I feel like I'm in my 90s or older. So my breaking point was my husband and I were commuting to work together. And he worked more hours than I did. So I would stay at work. I would do extra work, which again, not healthy, right?
Nope.
I was neglecting my health by doing extra work. So one day I decided, you know, I got out at noon. He was going to be working until 5. We lived 40 minutes away. And I decided I was going to go home and take a nap anyway because I was so exhausted. Went home, took a 3-hour nap, woke up even more exhausted than before I went to sleep. And I was driving to go pick my husband up from work, and I was just crying in the car the whole way there. And he got in the car and he said to me, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't know." And I just kept crying. So I knew at that point, like something had to give and I had to do something to feel better.
I actually have found lots of women who are at the point where they're starting to lose hope. No one is listening to them. They go to their doctor and they immediately have a pill thrown at them for whatever the first complaint is on their list. And they don't know what to do, which is one reason I wanted to interview people like you, because what you need to do is own your own health and dig in. And that's
Yes.
an odd thing to say. I'm not anti-doctor and I'm not an expert. I'm a health coach, but you need to own your health. Don't let that power go to anybody else, because there are things you can do to improve your health. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So that was just kind of the beginning of this next healing journey because, you know, I went for all kinds of tests for the gastroenterologist. All of them were negative. You know, I had one doctor suggest that maybe I needed a psychiatrist. One said, "No, I think you have, I think you have real pain. I'm just not smart enough to figure it out." And so I decided when he said that, oh, and he also handed me a prescription for painkillers with a little wink and told me that they're good for my migraines too. So I decided I was going to figure it out on my own. And again, not saying this is for everyone to do, but I started doing my own research. And I knew that if the traditional medical community didn't have the answers for me, I mean, the answers they had for me were good. Like, I didn't have cancer. I didn't have gallstones, right? So they told me all of the things that I didn't have. So they ruled things out, which was good. So I knew I didn't have anything real serious that needed immediate attention. So I knew I had to start looking into more of the holistic realm.
Let me just interject. You need to research, and if nothing else, you need to understand enough to have robust conversations with your own physician.
Exactly.
That's one of the best reasons you can start to do research. I'm not saying you should not do what your doctor is suggesting, but you need to know enough that you can challenge him and you can have robust conversations, because if you own your health, it's a different situation than if they own your health. And that's the way you're going to
Exactly.
start to get answers.
And you also, like, it helps you realize when you do your own research that maybe some symptom that you were having that you thought was separate from another symptom could really be connected. And that's good information to be giving to your doctor so that you're giving your doctor the whole picture and can help figure it out together.
And in support of
So,
the doctors, they're seeing hundreds of patients. So they're not
mm-hmm,
going to be able to research like you're going to be able to research for yourself. So
true.
that's why you need to be the one that owns it.
Mm-hmm. So, so I started doing things, changing lifestyle habits, like cutting back on my work hours to a regular 40-hour week, like most people, um, and started eating healthier, like by adding in more fruits and vegetables, not eating fried foods, just trying to eat healthier in some way. I wasn't exactly sure what that was, but I was trying to do it. Um, and then also doing some things like some yoga, walking, getting some exercise in, which again, really important for our health. Um, and I was starting to feel a lot better. I started having a smoothie for breakfast every morning because that seemed like a healthy thing to do.
How long do you think it took your body to start to react positively to the fact that you were eating real food and getting some exercise? How long before you started to feel better?
Um, I'd say I was slowly starting to feel better within a few weeks. Um, the thing that I really noticed was doing a walk in the morning before work would give me energy throughout the afternoon, which kind of surprised me, because I was somebody who would, oh, I'll exercise. I'm not a morning person. I'll exercise in the evening. In the evening, I'd be too exhausted, so I would let it go. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. But when I started walking in the morning, and not even a long walk, just around my block, um, just really gave me energy throughout the day. So I think I needed to notice little things like that, and then that helped reinforce for me. Um,
Yeah, when you start to feel better, you don't want to give it up. That's really
no,
what
no.
propels you forward once you start to feel good.
Hmm.
It's huge.
Um, it is, and empowering,
Hmm.
right? Um, so I still wasn't feeling, I knew I could feel better. I was still having that pain in my side every time I ate. Um, and I suspected that I would have to change the way I ate. And part of me wanted guidance and help with that. And the other part of me was like, no, don't do it. They're going to make you give up coffee and bread and all those delicious things you love to eat, pastries. Um, so I think I avoided getting holistic professional help for a few more months. Um, just because I didn't want to give up my favorite things.
Yeah, the number
And
one question I'm asked is, don't I feel deprived that I don't eat the
yeah,
American Standard Diet? No, I was deprived when I was eating it and it was making me sick. So, but
yeah.
there is a point where you have to realize that it's worth it. It's worth it to
Hmm.
be eating this way because the trade-off is huge. And it's not about being deprived.
No, not at all.
It's about feeling good.
And those things that were my favorite things, once I cut them out of my life and I went back to eating them again, I realized I really didn't like the way they tasted anymore.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't feel the way I liked the way they felt in my body. So,
Yeah, I grew up on See's Candy, which is a California candy company, and I
uh-huh.
loved it. I loved it. So when I had come probably a year and a half out of eating anything that was that heavy in sugar or, something that really wasn't that good for me that I was recognizing. The devil made me do it. I walked in and I bought a piece of See's candy and I went out to the car and I ate it and I thought, oh my God, this is not what I remembered it being at all. It did not taste good to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah, once you
shocked.
cleanse your palate, you can start to taste chemicals in food. And it just doesn't taste good anymore.
Yeah, it's a surprise. And real food, when you're eating it on a regular basis, starts to taste really good because you're not
Yeah.
eating all that other synthetic stuff. You're eating real food,
Mm-hmm.
not fake food, which is what most processed food and fast food are. They're not real food. They don't give your
True.
body anything. So,
Yeah. And the way I grew up, my mother wasn't into processed foods. And I can remember as a kid just trying to talk her into buying SpaghettiOs. I wanted to have SpaghettiOs so bad because of the commercial. And I wanted to. So she finally gave in one day and she bought them for me and made them. And I tasted them and I was like, oh, I don't like this. So yeah, it was like I had to, once you're out on your own, once you go to college, that's what really, I think, gets you eating unhealthy. So I had to kind of cleanse my palate from all of those years of eating junk food. Um, but when I went to a holistic doctor, finally, she, I had been tested for celiac disease, which does run in my family. And my test had been negative. So this holistic doctor suggested that I give up wheat and gluten anyway, because she said I could still have a non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So I decided, I had tried a couple of other times giving up wheat and gluten, but I didn't do it seriously. So I didn't read labels. I didn't, scrutinize things to make
and they're
sure
in a lot of things that you don't realize they're in.
they are. So, like, natural flavors could potentially have wheat and gluten in them, caramel color. So, things that if you're not really paying attention, could easily consume, and you just need a small amount to feel really
Right,
lousy.
right.
So, I decided that I was going to seriously do it this time and scrutinize everything. And I was even just going to eat meat and vegetables because I figured if I just eat meat and vegetables, there's going to be no potential for any gluten getting in there by accident.
Were you eating organic or anything like that at this point?
At this point, I was not even buying organic. But I did notice within about 3 days, the pain in my side was gone. My clothing was feeling looser. I wasn't feeling as tired. And any of the residual aches and pains that I was having in my joints were pretty much gone. So it was a pretty quick response once I decided to really do it.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
so since I was feeling so good at that point, I decided, all right, I'm going to continue doing this and see how it goes. So it was like a couple weeks in of doing this and feeling really great. I think I had maybe a slice of pizza, um, and then felt really lousy afterward. And so I would test it every now and then. I would go back to eating strictly gluten-free, and then, oh, somebody brought in Dunkin' Donuts for a meeting at work. Well, just have, one donut. Again, just feeling lousy immediately. Um, so I'd probably say within 2 months, I wasn't even cheating every now and then anymore. And I've been eating gluten-free for probably about 15 years now. And feeling
And you
great.
feel good. Yeah.
I'm going to be 51 this year, and I feel way better than I did in my 30s.
And you look terrific.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel terrific.
Yeah, I would never have thought that you were 50. You don't look 50 at all. So,
yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome. So now at some point you decided that you wanted to share this with other people. So you went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is where I went.
Yes. So I had been feeling good and eating gluten-free for several years, and was at a point in my life where I was working full time. I had just moved my parents into assisted living, cleaning out my childhood home, getting the house ready to put it on the market, and actually getting tired from all of these things going on in my life, but feeling like, oh, maybe I could be eating differently to have more energy right now during this time. What could I be doing for myself? So I went to a different holistic doctor because the one I had been to previously was no longer around. And while meeting with this woman, I'm telling her about what's going on in my life. And, she said to me at one point, she didn't say that maybe I need a psychiatrist, but she talked about another patient who didn't need her, needed a psychiatrist, and kind of hinted like maybe that might be my situation. So I decided, I knew I didn't need a psychiatrist. First of all, I was a mental health counselor, and and I know what happens when you go to the psychiatrist. You get a prescription. So, but that really stuck with me, and it irritated me, Cheryl, for months. For months, that little thorn just pushed at me and pushed at me. And one day it kind of hit me. I don't need a doctor. I certainly don't need a psychiatrist. I need a nutrition class. That's why I went to that doctor. I wanted to learn more about eating healthy.
Doctors don't get that in medical school. That was one of the first things that shocked me when I started to research. They get less than half a day in all their years in medical school. So when they tell you you need to lose weight and you say, oh, good, okay, tell me how to do that, they don't know. That was not part of their curriculum, and it wasn't anything that they learned. So you're not going to get the kind of information you were looking for from a doctor, because that's not in their repertoire.
Right. And I did ask doctors over time, what if I change the way I eat? Oh, you could try it, but it probably won't do much. What if I have a lot of stress going on? Do you think it could be stress related? Everybody has stress. These are all things that were impacting me and making me feel lousy. And once I took care of them, I'm feeling great again.
Yeah, well, in functional medicine, all those things impact the gut.
Yes.
And the gut wall is only one cell thick. And so if you have a lot of stress, or you're eating incorrect things, or you're having a lot of toxins enter your body, that's where disease begins, because it's poking up against the wall of your gut. And so it is all connected, but only functional doctors are learning that. Conventional doctors are not. And the difference with a functional doctor is that they probably got sick, which is why they went for additional training in functional medicine, and that's why they get that. The conventional doctors who haven't been to the functional medicine continued education, they look at individual organ systems, whereas a functional doctor looks at the whole body. And it's all root cause oriented at the gut. And so, you were right to start looking for nutritional advice. And stress is a huge contributor to chronic illness. Huge.
Exactly. Just thinking about the effects of, the cortisol in our body, adrenal fatigue. That's probably a lot of what I was experiencing at that time was adrenal fatigue with all of the, moving my parents around, the
Did anyone
stress
ever
of their
check your
health.
cortisol level? Did you get any tests done on cortisol?
I did not. And I kind of stopped going to medical doctors for a
Yeah.
while.
They took my cortisol level. I was almost to Addison's disease. But since I wasn't that
Wow.
low, it was kind of like, what's to do? Because they're trained to handle it once you're in the disease state. And I
Right.
wasn't in the disease state yet. So by the time I
Mhm.
got to my functional doctor, she was like, oh my God, this is the first thing we're going to do is get your cortisol level up, which wasn't that hard to do. But
Mhm.
a conventional doctor is not trained to look at it or to understand how much that impacts your energy.
Right. And actually, when the doctor that I went to who told me to stop eating gluten, she did do a pretty thorough blood workup on me at that time. But at this later time, I just went the nutrition class route, and um,
Which helps
yeah,
solve the issues. So it's
it
amazing that
did.
food is medicine. Food
Hmm.
really is medicine. That's what your body
Hmm.
needs. It needs
Yep,
real food.
it needs colorful fruit and vegetables, yeah, that are going to give your cells nutrients. And one of the things that I love about what I learned through IIN and also what I learned in my Reiki and craniosacral work is that our bodies were created with everything that it needs to heal. And if it's given the right environment and it's given the right nutrition, it knows how to heal itself. If we cut
Yeah.
ourselves, our skin, it's programmed to heal. So we
Yeah.
have a
And
lot
it
of
wants to heal.
inherent,
The
it
garbage
does.
in, garbage out. If you don't give it building blocks, it has nothing to work with. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of this was a big surprise to me when I started changing
Hmm.
my lifestyle.
Well, and
So,
I think another important message for people too is that, we have a pain and we think there's a problem, but the pain is really our body communicating to us that something isn't right. And, we have a pain, we go to the doctor, we want the doctor to give us something to get rid of the pain. But like you said earlier, the healing has to come from within. We have to figure out what our body is saying to us and what needs to be corrected and make that correction in order for our body to really heal.
and there really is no magic pill. The
Right.
pills sort of mask what's going on, but there's no
Hmm.
magic pill that suddenly makes your body well. You have to
Yeah.
support it with the right building tools.
Hmm.
And these are all
Exactly.
my opinions. I am not a doctor, but I want you all to think about this because it will change the way you look at what you're doing with your body. And it's
Hmm.
important that you revisit what you're doing with your body.
Yes. Yes. And I have to say, I have not taken a prescription medicine in about 10 years. I haven't needed one, which, I was just kind of reflecting on that today and thinking about us getting together to talk. And
Right.
it got me thinking like, oh, when was the last time I did take some medication? And it's got to be at least 10 years now.
Do you take
And
over the
I feel
counter
great.
pills? Do you take like aspirin and Advil and Tylenol and all that stuff?
I do take Tylenol occasionally. If I do, I don't get headaches much anymore, but every now and then I might get one. So I would take a Tylenol for something like that. Or if my seasonal allergies get really bad, I might take a Zyrtec. Um, I do take some supplements sometimes when I feel like I need some extra vitamin C or vitamin D, especially in the winter living in the Northeast.
Right.
Um,
Which is
but
important there. You're not getting
yeah.
enough sun.
Hmm. But for the most part, no medications.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's a
And
good
I know
thing for
other people
everybody
can
out
get
there
there.
to aim for, because you can do a lot by changing the things that are impacting your body.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about how you became a Reiki instructor.
Oh, Reiki instructor.
Reiki.
Let's see.
Why don't you
I
tell everybody
was
what Reiki, I'm going to mispronounce it now, what it is. Tell everybody what it is.
Reiki.
Reiki.
So Reiki is an energy practice, and it originated in Japan. And in Reiki, we believe that we all have universal life force energy coming into us through our crown, and up from the earth through our feet. And that when, things like stress or not eating right can block that energy from flowing properly. And that's when we start to experience pain and discomfort and disease. And that by helping to work with our energy system, we can remove those blockages so that energy can flow better, which gives us more energy and more energetic feeling. But it also helps to keep our organs healthier if our energy is flowing better.
Right.
So with Reiki, we kind of feel energy through the palms of our hands. So we can put our hands near someone's body and feel where something might be blocked. So, free flowing energy might feel like a wave, just like a really gentle wave kind of thing. It might feel like a circle spinning, but you can usually tell if someone's energy is blocked. It might feel kind of jagged, or it's almost like you can feel anxiety, or it's kind of hard to explain.
Is it
But yeah, we just
connected
kind
to
of,
the chakras, or is that a different discipline?
yes. So we we kind of work along the chakra line of the body. So the chakras are considered to be spinning wheels of energy that are kind of in line with the spine and going up through the crown. So we just kind of hold different areas along the body near there and feel how the energy is moving. And as we hold the energy, it's kind of like if you put your fingers into some water, right? Ripples might come out. So when you hold the energy, you're affecting the energy. And
That's
so you can
interesting.
help
Like a
it.
pebble that you threw into a lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes just holding the energy helps it to reorganize and move more freely. And I notice a lot with a lot of people, this solar plexus area, which is kind of at the base of the rib cage, and that's, our adrenals are back there. That area can be pretty tight in a lot of people. And things can feel very unsettled there, when people have a lot of stress. And a lot of times you can just feel that relax, and then you can feel their breathing just kind of open up and, see their breathing become relaxed and deeper, which is then going to impact our health, right? It's going to help. If
Right.
our breathing is better, that impacts our physical ability. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing, I'm going to mispronounce it again, Reiki?
I started in 2007. And when I first started, I was just kind of playing around with it on me or my husband or our dogs. And then I'd say around the time when I was going to IIN and changing my career from mental health to more health coaching, I started doing it, professionally. So it was probably more like around 2014. So I just kind of played around with it for a few years
But it's
and helped
obviously
out.
something that you feel like you can really help people with by doing it.
Yeah, people, a lot of times people come in for a session and they're like, oh, I just can't believe how good I feel after this whenever I come in. And, every time it feels new to them and they're just always amazed at how good they feel afterward. A lot of times people will ask, what are you feeling? And I'll ask them what their feeling is. And a lot of times they're different because they're feeling inside their body, right? And I'm feeling things from the outside of their body. So it's always like interesting to kind of compare what they're feeling with what I'm feeling. And a lot of times they'll get insights to, connecting it to something that's happening in their life. So yeah, it can be helpful on many levels.
Yeah, no, and it's a great thing that you can do that in addition to the health coaching. So
Yeah.
it completes the whole package because energy is an important part of health. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we all realize that.
Yeah.
It's not just this Eastern thing that we have chakras. Um, they're the energy centers of the body. Years ago, I had a jewelry business that I called
Mm-hmm.
Chakra Designs. And so I did a lot of research on the chakras. And what was most fascinating to me is cultures that had no connection with each other all had dolls or things that showed the energy centers in exactly the same places. There was a
Mm-hmm.
tribe in Africa that had all the 7 chakras. The American Indians, they have found some dolls and artifacts that have all the 7 chakras. There was some place in South America that had those all noted. And then, I think the whole philosophy started in India,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably the place that practices that the most. But it was a universal thought form over many cultures and many hundreds and thousands of years. So that should allow it to give some more credibility to people who haven't experienced it, because it's not,
Yes.
yeah, it does. And to balance all your chakras is a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous asset to your body.
Mm-hmm. And in those traditions, they tend to think that disease starts out in our energy field um, before we start to feel it in the body and before it starts to affect the body. So the belief is if we can work with the energy field first, we can prevent a lot of disease from happening. If we're taking care of ourselves energetically as well as taking care of ourselves physically.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all things that have positive outcomes.
Yeah. And some professionals are even connecting foods and chakras, and the colors of our foods can relate to the different colors of the chakras and help to uh, nourish our energy system and the organs in those areas of the chakras as well.
Yeah, I'm only married 5 years, and on a whim, I mentioned to my husband that I would love to have an aura machine. And I'll be darned, he bought it for our first anniversary. They're expensive. I did not intend for him to do that. But the way that we learned first through the Tao group that we do yoga with, and then that I put together from doing additional research, is the rainbow colors of food directly relate to the colors of the chakra. And if you're out of balance, you can help put yourself back into balance by eating more of that color food, because the same energy is in the food that's in that chakra area of the body. And so
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to, at first I thought that it was good to only be in the upper chakras because that meant I was more spiritual. Ends up you really want it balanced all over the body. And both John and I live in our heads. So we do have brighter colors in the upper chakras, but we're
Mm-hmm.
working on getting energy in our lower chakras so we're grounded and we're
Yes.
healthier as a total body. So the whole
Yes.
thing has been a really growing experience for me. And it's fun to, we use the machine when we go to health fairs, and
Mm-hmm.
people are blown away because we first take an aura reading and then we teach them some exercises through the gut where they vibrate through their belly button, which sends energy all over the body. And then we take another aura reading, and all the colors are way brighter the second time around, which just
Wow.
really surprises everybody, but it gives
Mm-hmm.
it credibility that there really is something to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a handout where you're low in color, what you would eat and what you would do, and what kinds of meditations you would do to come back into balance. So it's been a really fun thing to learn more about. But I'm
Yeah,
not a Reiki person.
definitely.
So yeah, I guess that would be the
Mm-hmm.
logical next progression.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've got me thinking about something else now in that I think you're a meat eater, correct?
Yes.
I am too. Um, and one thing we've learned in our nutrition program is that not all protein is equal, not all
No.
carbohydrates are equal, right? So just thinking about, the different types of animal proteins we might be eating, they're all different energetically. So
Interesting. Makes
I
sense.
really got to experience this. We have some hunters in our family, and they gave us one time some caribou meat, and this was right around the time I had been learning about um, kind of the energetics of food. And I noticed whenever I ate the caribou meat, I couldn't sleep at night. um, so I thought I have to research what the caribou lifestyle is like. Well, they tend to travel at night, so
Yeah, who
so
would
I
have
think
thunk?
that's why I couldn't sleep at night, right? And so just thinking about, beef is a heavy energy kind of animal. They move very slowly. So having beef can be very grounding if you're trying to bring more
Right.
grounding to your
Yeah.
life.
I don't care if I'm coaching if they eat meat or not. I just want
Mhm.
them to eat quality protein. We
Right.
only eat pastured meat. We eat
Hmm.
grass-fed, grass-finished beef. We eat pastured heirloom pork. Um,
Hmm.
Chicken is a sensitivity, but if I could eat chicken, I would eat free-run pastured chicken who's eating
Hmm.
his natural diet, because you are also what your animal eats. So it's
Exactly.
important energetically, I'm sure, for you to be making sure he's eating quality ingredients because it's going into you.
Hmm.
And if he's not, if he's eating GMOs or things that are not that healthy, you're eating things that are not that healthy by eating him.
Right.
So yeah, but no, and if you're eating soy and you're vegan, it needs to be organic, because otherwise you're getting a healthy dose of toxins with every bite of soy you're putting in your body. So it has to
Hmm.
be quality protein.
Exactly. Yes. Quality everything.
Yeah, and it's worth
Quality
it.
fruits and vegetables. It is. It is. And now I've learned that there are certain fruits and vegetables that I might be able to eat non-organic sometimes.
Right.
Um, but most of them, if they are non-organic, I can feel those sprays kind of impacting my gut and probably killing off my gut flora.
Right.
So I think the more that people tune into their body and really take the time to feel the food in their body, you can start to really notice these things.
And when
Um,
you tune into your body, you have to get quiet for a minute,
yes.
and then you have to let your body talk to you. If you're
Mm-hmm.
always run, which is what I was in my business life, you
Mm-hmm.
don't take the time to get quiet and just go deep and ask your body, how is it feeling? And then you have to wait for your body to answer you, which sounds
Yes.
crazy, but your body will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. You have to feel how different foods are impacting you. And you have to pay attention when you start to change and eat quality ingredients. How much better do you
Mm-hmm.
actually feel? Because
Right.
you will feel better.
Mm-hmm. You'll feel energized after you eat and not tired.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And after years of feeling exhausted, once you start to pay attention to it, you don't want to give it up.
That's true. Absolutely.
So you've written 2 books. I want you to tell us about your books
Yes.
because they're great fun.
I have a children's book called The Great Veggie Monster Mystery. So when I was a kid, I did not like to eat vegetables. Um, and my mother would try all kinds of things to get me to eat them. And I would try, sneak them in the trash when no one was looking.
Yeah, I was caught throwing them down the sink.
so so that was intended for kids who don't like to eat vegetables. It's just a way of introducing one, opening up conversations with parents and kids around healthy eating, and two, there are a couple of recipes in the back that are fun for kids to try out.
Yeah, I bought it for our grandchildren. I don't
Oh
have
yeah.
grandchildren, but my husband does. So I inherited grandchildren when I got married, which is such a delight. So I bought it for them for Christmas and they love it.
Good.
So yeah,
Good.
and anything that encourages kids to eat vegetables, I'm all for. And it's fun. It's a fun little story.
Yeah. Um, and then the other book that I wrote is a gluten-free cookbook with some, one of the things that I discovered with eating gluten-free is the thing that people tend to miss the most, I think, are the desserts. Um, it's we still have meat, we still have fruits and vegetables, but the desserts, the breads, I think are what people miss the most. So I decided to do a gluten-free goodies cookbook
Fun.
um, with some favorite recipes of mine. So, and I share a little bit of my story in there and my healing journey, and
And
to
you
hopefully
can
inspire
convert most
others.
recipes to be
Yes.
gluten-free. I use a lot of almond flour. I
Mm-hmm.
use some coconut flour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there are alternative flours that they're not exactly the same, but you can make really yummy things with them. So it's great to have a cookbook that will show people how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I
And
say
I,
you don't have to be deprived. There are alternatives. It's just learning a new
there.
way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also have, I don't tend to use sugar, especially since most sugar is GMO beets, um, and, gives us spikes in our energy and throws off our blood sugar and gives us brain fog and all kinds of horrible things to our body. So I tend to use either maple syrup or honey or stevia. So the recipes include sugar alternatives, and I do use a lot of coconut and almond flours as well. And I do have some recipes in there that use rice flour or buckwheat flour or other flours, because there are some people who have nut allergies as well,
Right.
um, that you have to be careful with. So
So
yeah,
you want to
there's
give
a range of
alternatives as well.
recipes. Hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're not doing your mental health coaching anymore. Now you're doing health coaching and you're doing
Yes.
Reiki.
Yes.
Once I mispronounce something, I'm doomed because I'm going to mispronounce it for the rest of my life. Um, what's next up for you?
Oh, I've started like, I don't know, 3 or 4 books that I haven't finished, that I hope to get working on again. Um, and I'm not sure. I think I'm at like a fork where I'm deciding some next moves, especially, this pandemic has kind of thrown a little bit of a wrench in things. So I'm not seeing clients in person right now, just doing remote work. So I guess I'm kind of at a reassessment time, and some of that's a little unsure. So,
Yeah, I think all of us are gonna, I think the big dilemma now is what do we want the new
yeah.
normal to look like when we come out the other end of this?
Mm-hmm.
And what will have changed? We're not going back to the way things were before this started. That's for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Things are going to have to be different.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people take more responsibility for their own health and their own bodies, because a strong immune system will help you
Mm-hmm.
survive these things that are going on in the outer world much better. And eating real food will protect your families better to survive in times of a pandemic. So I'm
Right.
hoping there's a shift towards taking care of ourselves better. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which should be good for us who are wanting to help people live healthier lives. But
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's why I think this is a good timing for you, Cheryl, getting your message out.
thank you.
So
I really want people to hear what I have to say, because your lives would be so much better if you ate
mm-hmm.
differently and if you eliminated toxins from your life. It makes such a difference. And there is no reason for 53% of our children to have chronic illness.
No.
That is something that we can control. The reason I believe that our healthcare system is broken is because of what we're putting in our bodies. If we
Mm-hmm.
take care of that, we won't be putting the drain onto our insurance companies the way we are. But
Right.
the government is not going to protect us from this. We have to join together. In school, there was a man named Howard Lyman who talked about how we all have to become an army of one.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want everybody to join me, because as ones, if we join together, we can start to shift the system. And I've been now doing this for my body now for 8 years, and there's a lot more available in terms of healthier products today
Mm-hmm.
than there were 8 years ago. So there is a shift that's starting to happen, but we need to get the word out so that more people adopt it, so that we can influence what big chemical, big pharma, and big food are giving us as products. And so that's really why I'm trying to get out there
Right.
and have people hear my message, because
Mm-hmm.
I consider that to be what my legacy should be. I'm
Mm-hmm.
71,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm very passionate to get my message out to everybody.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I hope so. You know, it takes 16 times for someone to hear the message before it starts to register and for them to want to change, which is why I
Mm-hmm.
want to interview people like you, because I've had a lot of people when I speak come up and say it's all fine and well that you did this, but that doesn't mean I can. Yeah, it does. I am not a lone ranger. There's a lot of me out there. And so
Mm-hmm.
I want them to hear people's stories like yours, that
Right.
you felt lousy from when you were a kid, but at
Mm-hmm.
51, you now feel fantastic. That should
Yeah.
be an incentive for someone to want to feel fantastic too. And it's never too late to adopt healthy habits. The
It's true.
body really wants to be healthy. So the minute you
Mm-hmm.
start to adopt healthy habits, your body starts to utilize and starts to regain ground in terms of health.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't say it's this, I've been bad for too many years, it's never going to change. That's not true. Your body will respond no matter what
Mm-hmm.
age you're at.
Exactly. Everything we do in it, every minute of the day impacts our body. So we can impact our body in a positive way, or we can impact it in a not so positive way.
Right. And
So,
so, which one would you rather have is what I'm asking everyone who's listening
yeah.
to us. You want to impact it in a positive way. And you want to, I mean, if this pandemic comes back again, you can start today to prepare your body to withstand it better in the future. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no better time to start to adopt healthier habits than right now,
Right.
because that's going to be your future.
And I have to say, Cheryl, I feel less afraid, I think, during this pandemic because I have trust in my immune system, and I feel healthy. I know I'm very healthy, and and so I feel less fear because I feel like my immune system is strong. Um, yeah,
And that's a big thing. I think a
hmm
lot of people out there are terrified.
I agree. They are. They are.
So tell people how they can find you.
Oh, okay. So my website is foodandmoodhealing.com. Um, and that's where they can find me. I have a Facebook page, Joan Bender Health Coach, and an Instagram page of Food Mood Coach.
And food does directly impact mood for anybody
It
who doesn't know
does.
that.
It
Serotonin, they
does.
used to think was all from the brain. That's our feel good
Hmm.
hormone. It comes from the gut.
Yeah,
So food and mood are directly related, which you would
they
know
are.
from all your years working with people with mental health issues.
Yeah. And that's part of why I made this transition too, is I want to help people feel better emotionally as well using food, not just physically. Um, because food does impact the way we feel emotionally. If we're not eating the right foods, a lot of people don't realize it, but a gluten sensitivity can show up as anxiety or depression. Um, so,
And I know if I'm down a little bit one day,
mhm,
I'll think back and what have I been eating? And if I
yeah,
start adding all my vegetables and fruits back in, it only takes a couple of days and my mood is lifted and I feel much better again. I
mhm,
can impact my mood almost immediately by changing what I'm eating.
mhm,
So,
yeah. And toxins like food additives that we take into the body also impact our mood.
right.
They
And
so
MSG, all that stuff.
hmm hmm
Tell us the name of your two books again. And are they available on Amazon?
they are available on Amazon. The Great Veggie Monster Mystery is my children's book, and my cookbook is um, Gluten-Free Alchemy: The Heart and Soul of Creating Gluten-Free Goodies.
Cool. Anybody who wants to make something healthy that still tastes really yummy, that's the
Yep.
cookbook to go get.
Yes,
Okay.
I tell people you don't have to be gluten-free to enjoy those recipes.
which is a which is wonderful. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming and sharing your story today. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners do as well. So thank you,
Thank you for
Joan.
having me.
It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure to have you here.